Hello, I'm CJ Wierleyman, and in this episode, we reveal how the strengthening alliance between Israel and India is encouraging fascism and Zionist impunity, along with anti-Muslim violence around the world. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now, let's get into it. Here's a statement that you don't hear nearly often enough, but it's one that needs to be said loudly and clearly right now. And that is, you can't oppose Zionism without also opposing Hindu nationalism. Given both ideologies take inspiration from the Nazis, and given Israel and India have become indispensable allies in the global war against Muslims. You see, they not only sell and transfer weapons to each other, but they also work together to incite and inspire hatred against Islam in the West to garner support for their respective military occupations in Palestine and Kashmir. It's not for nothing that India is the greatest source of pro-Israel disinformation since October 7th. And it's also not for nothing that India and Israel is responsible for the overwhelming majority of anti-Muslim hatred on social media. Soon, India will follow Israel's lead by defying international law to commit genocide in occupied Kashmir, where the Modi regime says it will implement the Israel model, meaning Kashmiri Muslims are in grave danger of being displaced and killed in the name of Indian self-defense. A nightmare scenario that inched ever closer on July 8, when Israel and India finalized an investment protection deal aimed at reinforcing the fascist and criminal policies of both regimes, while providing impunity for each other's crimes against humanity. This is about shielding each other from prosecution and economic boycotts, but under the guise of an investment relationship. A move human rights experts have described as terrifying, and one that will surely bear lethal consequences for marginalized communities in both countries, but particularly for 200 million Muslims in India. You see, Israel, with its economy and reputation in tatters, is desperately seeking to restore investor confidence, as hostility and apathy towards the Zionist state continues to spike upwards in Western countries. At the heart of this deal is an understanding that India will support Israel's savagery and criminality against Palestinians, with Israel scratching India's back by supporting the Indian government's violent crackdown on Muslims in India and Kashmir. This deal comes on top of long-standing military cooperation between the two countries.
India loves Israel. Just look at the numbers. India is the biggest purchaser of Israeli weapons, spending around $2.9 billion over the last decade on military hardware and defense tech. And for Israel, the feeling is mutual.
Is that as Israel and India become closer, the weapons manufacturing that will come out of India will become broader, will become bigger. It will also expand to other countries.
The slaughter of upwards of 400,000 Palestinians in Gaza has inspired Hindu nationalists to dish up the same horrors to India's Muslim minority today, which should surprise no one, given Zionist terror inspired the Hindu ideology more than a century ago, when its founding father wrote, "If Zionist dreams of a Jewish state in Palestine are ever realized, it will gladden us as much as our Jewish friends." His words characterize the Hindu-Zionist alliance, one that is built on shared goals and shared hatred, with both India and Israel rejecting pressure to uphold international human rights and humanitarian law, which explains why Zionists and Hindu hate preachers sound very much alike. Both refer to Muslims and Palestinians as animals, terrorists, and infiltrators.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם.
पहले जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। इसका मतलब ये संपत्ति इकट्ठी करके किसको बांटेंगे? जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे हैं उनको बांटेंगे, घुसपैठियों को बांटेंगे। क्या आपकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा घुसपैठियों को दिया जाए?
200 million Muslims living in India. That's the second largest Muslim population in the world. And you're saying that wherever Muslims live, there's...
If Muslims become more than 30%, that country is in danger.
That sounds like hatred. That sounds like a language of hatred.
It's easy to say hatred. I'm being kind to them by not letting them come to India.
All people not equal?
All people are not equal.
Muslims do not deserve equal rights to apply Muslims.
There's no such thing as equal rights. They're not in an equal category.
It's often been said that Israeli weapons are tested on Palestinians and then sold to India to be used on Muslims in Kashmir. But today, this new so-called investment deal will only make things measurably worse. Because Israel will not only supply India with a majority of its weaponry needs to crush resistance in Indian-occupied Kashmir, but also India will supply Israel with the means to continue its genocide in Gaza and the occupied West Bank.
What makes no sense whatsoever is that India should partner itself with the Israelis in this absolutely horrendous venture, a venture that has been condemned by the International Court of Justice as well as by the International Criminal Court. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It's critically important to understand that both Zionism and Hindu nationalism draw inspiration from the Nazis, with Israel transforming Gaza into the equivalent of the Warsaw Ghetto as Hindu extremists celebrate Hitler and his hateful ideology.
Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime redefined genocide in the 20th century. But what if I told you that the same Hitler is in fact a bestseller in India? Yes, Hitler's autobiography Mein Kampf, which actually means My Struggle, sells on pavements, traffic signals and bookshops across India.
The founding father of the Hindu ideology said Hindus should do to Muslims what the Nazis did to the Jews. A blatant call for genocide to be sure, but one that was answered by hundreds of millions of Hindus when they voted for Narendra Modi in 2014. This is a man who seized the country's highest office after inciting a genocide against Muslims in the Indian state of Gujarat, where Modi served as chief minister in the early 2000s. These headlines describe how Modi's 3 prime ministerial terms have delivered only deadly violence against Muslims and other religious minorities. Nearly 100% of all mob lynching attacks to occur in India's history took place during Modi's first 5-year term. His second term ushered in another surge of anti-Muslim violence, as his third and current term incites a record number of hate crimes against Muslims and Christians.
India is home to more than 213 million Muslims, the largest religious minority in the country. But a string of recent attacks has left many wondering if they're safe in their homeland.
How is it possible that an hour away from the national capital, you have hate rallies asking for boycott and apartheid and ethnic cleansing, and the state cannot arrest the perpetrators? Our forefathers fought for the liberation of this country from the British. To have then to prove your Indianness to the country is the ultimate humiliation. It is exhausting for an Indian Muslim to constantly prove his Indianness, to constantly say, hey, I love my country.
Modi and his party have stripped Muslims of their citizenship, passed laws to demolish mosques and Islamic schools, encourage violence against Muslims during Islamic holidays, and encourage Hindus to boycott Muslim businesses. Hate crimes and other forms of violence will continue to surge upwards as Israel helps the Indian government crush rising dissent towards its pro-Israel policies. Here you see Muslims arrested in Delhi for protesting outside the Israeli embassy. These are truly remarkable scenes, because here you have a persecuted Muslim minority on the brink of its own genocide, risking arrest and worse to protest against a genocide taking place in Palestine. This is truly something, and I can tell you this, that having covered India for years as a journalist, I can tell you that the country's Muslim minority really does represent the best of humankind. They are ready and willing to risk everything defending Gaza, while their own government criminalizes pro-Palestinian activism and the religion of Islam, for all intents and purposes. As Indian Muslims are arrested and threatened during prayer, and arrested for wearing pro-Palestine t-shirts and burning Israeli flags, despite both forms of protests being protected as acts of free speech under the Indian constitution. And at the same time Israel has bombed and bulldozed Gaza to ashes and dust, India is bulldozing thousands of mosques along with tens of thousands of Muslim-owned homes and businesses. It demolished the homes of 1,400 Muslim families on July 8, after demolishing another 8,500 homes the month before.
The demolition of Muslim-owned properties continues in India despite a Supreme Court ban in November 2024. Last year, India faced legal pushback over the practice of demolishing Muslim-owned homes, shops and religious sites, also known as bulldozer justice.
The Indian government is aggressively banning and blocking social media accounts that expose human rights abuses against Muslims. It not only blocked my Twitter account, but also our YouTube channel in India. And as I mentioned in a recent episode, the Modi regime has also charged me with terrorism for exposing anti-Muslim abuse in Tripura and Assam. And it also banned another 2,000 accounts during the past 4 weeks because Modi is determined to keep its coming genocide against Muslims hidden from the prying eyes of the world. So I urge you, please don't wait for an actual genocide to occur to show your support for Muslims in India and Kashmir. And also remember that when you stand up for Muslims anywhere, you're standing firmly against Israel everywhere. But that's my time for today. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJ Wierleyman.